What if the only real difference between rich people and everyone else isn't luck, talent, or even money, but the way they think? Imagine facing the same problem as a billionaire and reacting completely differently. Where most people see walls, delays, and excuses, the wealthy see doors, leverage, and hidden chances. This mindset shift alone can change the trajectory of your life. In this video, you'll discover why rich people think in terms of opportunity, not obstacles, and how you can train your mind to do the same. Watch till the end, because the final insight might completely reframe how you see challenges forever. Lesson 1. Obstacles versus opportunities, a mental filter. The fundamental difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who remain in a cycle of financial struggle lies not in the presence of luck, but in the specific calibration of their mental filters. To the average observer, an obstacle is a stop sign, a definitive signal that the path is blocked and that retreat is the most logical, self-preserving option. However, for the wealthy, an obstacle is viewed as a piece of raw data. It is a friction point that indicates a gap in the market or a flaw in a current system that, if corrected, yields a profit. They do not live in a state of delusion where they pretend challenges don't exist. Rather, they acknowledge the reality of the barrier and immediately begin the process of mental transmutation, turning the lead of a problem into the gold of a solution. This shift in perspective is often rooted in the concept of curiosity as a survival mechanism. When a market crashes or a business model fails, the standard emotional response is fear. Fear narrows the vision, forcing the individual to focus only on immediate survival. The opportunity-focused mind, however, intentionally widens its field of vision through questioning. By asking, "How can this work for me?" or "What is the hidden advantage here?" they bypass the amygdala's fight-or-flight response and engage the prefrontal cortex. This allows them to see the second-order effects of a crisis. While others are fleeing a burning building, the wealthy are looking at the value of the land underneath or the demand for fireproof materials that will inevitably follow. Furthermore, obstacles serve as a high-level filtering mechanism for the wealthy. They understand that if a task were easy, the market would be saturated and the profit margins would be non-existent. Complexity and difficulty act as a barrier to entry that keeps the average competitor away. Therefore, a significant obstacle is actually a protective moat. When a wealthy individual encounters a regulation that is difficult to navigate or a technology that is hard to master, they don't complain about the difficulty. Instead, they recognize that mastering that difficulty gives them a competitive advantage that others will be too lazy or too intimidated to pursue. In this sense, the obstacle is the very thing that ensures their future profit. Finally, this mental filter creates a self-reinforcing loop of momentum. Every time a person successfully navigates an obstacle by treating it as an opportunity, their adversity quotient increases. They begin to develop a subconscious confidence that no matter what the economy or the industry throws at them, they have the cognitive tools to reframe it. This removes the paralyzing effect of uncertainty. While the rest of the world waits for the perfect conditions to act, the wealthy individual is already moving, knowing that the imperfect conditions are exactly where the most lucrative opportunities are currently hiding, waiting to be claimed by the person with the clearest filter. Lesson 2. Long-term vision over short-term pain. The concept of delayed gratification is often discussed in basic financial terms like saving pennies, but for the truly wealthy, it is an advanced strategic philosophy. Long-term vision is the ability to maintain a high-resolution image of a future state while enduring a low-resolution and painful present. Most people are governed by their biological drive for immediate comfort, the need to avoid stress, hunger, or social embarrassment in the now. The wealthy, however, have trained themselves to view short-term pain as a necessary down payment on long-term leverage. They understand that the most valuable assets are built in the shadows, during the boring and difficult years when there is no public applause and very little immediate return on investment. This perspective allows the wealthy to embrace asymmetric risk. Situations where the potential downside is known and limited, but the potential upside is virtually infinite. For example, starting a company or investing in a nascent technology involves short-term financial pain and the risk of failure. To the short-term thinker, the pain of losing capital today outweighs the theoretical gain of tomorrow. But the visionary sees that the cost of not acting is actually higher. They are willing to look foolish for a decade to be overnight successes in the 11th year. They recognize that the greatest compounding occurs at the end of the cycle, not the beginning, and they have the emotional fortitude to stay in the game long enough to reach that inflection point. During periods of economic downturn, this long-term vision becomes a superpower. When the general public is panicked by short-term volatility, the wealthy are looking at historical cycles. They know that markets are mean reverting and that blood in the streets often signals a fire sale on quality assets. While the short-term thinker sells at the bottom to stop the pain of seeing their portfolio drop, the long-term thinker buys, accepting that they might experience even more temporary pain before the recovery begins. Their focus is not on the price of the asset today, but on its value and earning potential 10 or 20 years from now. This time horizon arbitrage is perhaps the most significant wealth-building tool in existence. Ultimately, long-term vision acts as a compass in a world of noise. When you have a clear objective that spans decades, the minor setbacks of a day or a month lose their emotional charge. A failed product launch or a bad quarter isn't a catastrophe. It's a data point in a much larger trajectory. This emotional stability allows the wealthy to make rational decisions when others are making emotional ones. By prioritizing the future self over the present self, they create a life of freedom and options that the short-term thinker can never achieve because they are too busy putting out fires and seeking the next dopamine hit of immediate comfort. Lesson 3. Responsibility creates power. The most empowering realization a human being can have is that they are the primary architect of their life's outcomes. While the average person spends an enormous amount of mental energy identifying external culprits for their failures, the government, the central bank, their upbringing, or their boss, the wealthy individual takes extreme ownership of their reality. This is not about accepting blame in a self-flagellating way. It is about recognizing that if you are the cause of your problems, you are also the solution. The moment you blame an external force, you hand over your power to that force. If the economy is the reason you are poor, then you must wait for the economy to change before you can be rich. That is a position of utter helplessness. By asking, "What can I control here?" the wealthy individual immediately narrows their focus to actionable items. Even in situations that seem entirely out of their hands, such as a global pandemic or a major legislative shift, the high-responsibility individual looks for the pivot. They ask, given this new reality, what is my best move? This radical accountability forces a level of creativity that is absent in those who rely on excuses. When there is no exit ramp of blame available, the brain is forced to find a way through. This is why responsibility is the precursor to innovation. You don't innovate when things are easy. You innovate when you accept that the burden of success rests entirely on your shoulders. This mindset also transforms the nature of leadership and networking. People are naturally drawn to those who take responsibility. In the corporate or entrepreneurial world, the individual who says, "This was my mistake and here is how I will fix it," gains more trust than the person who points fingers. Taking responsibility builds a reputation for reliability and competence, which are the primary currencies of wealth. It allows you to build stronger teams because your employees and partners know that you will not throw them under the bus when things go wrong. Responsibility, therefore, creates a social and professional gravity that pulls resources, talent, and capital toward the individual. Furthermore, responsibility turns problems into projects. A problem is a heavy, static burden that exists in the past. A project is a dynamic, forward-looking series of tasks. When you take ownership, you deconstruct the overwhelming problem into manageable parts. You begin to build momentum through small wins. This momentum is the antidote to stagnation. The wealthy understand that the system may indeed be rigged or the economy may be unfair, but they also know that complaining about it provides zero ROI. By ignoring the factors they cannot change and ruthlessly optimizing the ones they can, they create a microclimate of success that eventually becomes immune to the external storms that sink others. Lesson 4. Problems are paid well. There is a direct mathematical correlation between the magnitude of the problem you solve and the amount of wealth you accumulate. Most people view problems as nuisances to be avoided or inconveniences to be complained about. The wealthy, however, view problems as value signals. If 1 million people have a specific pain point and you develop a way to alleviate that pain, the market will naturally reward you with a portion of the value you created. In this light, the search for wealth is effectively a search for significant problems. The more complex, painful, or widespread the problem is, the higher the bounty on its solution. Avoiding complexity is essentially avoiding wealth. This problem-centric approach requires a shift from being a consumer to being a producer. A consumer sees a long line at a store and gets frustrated. A producer sees a long line and wonders how to optimize the checkout process or create a competing service that eliminates the wait. The wealthy specialize in friction reduction. They look for areas where the world is inefficient, slow, or broken. They understand that every frustration expressed by a customer is a potential business plan. By moving toward the mess instead of away from it, they position themselves at the source of value creation. They don't want the easy jobs. They want the jobs that are so difficult that nobody else wants to do them, because those are the ones that pay the best. Furthermore, the wealthy understand that solving a problem once can lead to infinite leverage if the solution can be scaled. This is the difference between a high-paid consultant who solves a problem for one person at a time and a software developer or a real estate mogul who solves a problem for thousands or millions simultaneously. They look for systemic solutions. If they find a problem in their own life, they don't just fix it for themselves. They ask if it's a problem for others and if the solution can be packaged, automated, or distributed. They are not just fixers, they are architects of solutions. This ability to see the scalability of a solution is what separates a comfortable income from true generational wealth. Finally, embracing problems builds a unique form of intellectual capital. Each time you solve a difficult problem, you acquire a new set of skills, a deeper understanding of human behavior, and a more robust professional network. This capital is often more valuable than the money earned from the specific project. It makes you anti-fragile. The more problems you solve, the more capable you become of solving even bigger ones. The wealthy don't ask for fewer problems, they ask for better skills and bigger challenges. They recognize that a life without problems is a life without growth, and a life without growth is a life without the potential for significant financial reward. Lesson 5. Environment shapes opportunity thinking. The human brain is an incredibly social organ, designed to mirror the behaviors, attitudes, and thought patterns of the people it interacts with most frequently. This is known as social contagion. If your inner circle consists of individuals who primarily discuss celebrity gossip, political grievances, or why their current circumstances are unfair, your brain will naturally adopt a defensive, obstacle-oriented filter. You will begin to see the world as a place of scarcity and threat. Conversely, the wealthy are ruthlessly protective of their social and intellectual environment. They understand that opportunity thinking is a habit that must be nurtured by surrounding oneself with people who are already operating at a high level of agency and creativity. Designing an environment for wealth involves more than just who you talk to. It includes what you consume. The wealthy curate their information diet with the same precision that an athlete curates their nutrition. They trade outrage media and mindless entertainment for biographies of successful leaders, technical journals, and deep-dive analyses of market trends. They want to be exposed to ideas that challenge their assumptions and expand their sense of what is possible. By constantly flooding their subconscious with stories of innovation and successful problem-solving, they train their brain to recognize the patterns of success in the real world. They are essentially programming their internal software to detect opportunities that are invisible to the unconditioned eye. In a high-level environment, the nature of the conversation shifts from what is happening to what is possible. In these circles, an idea isn't met with a list of reasons why it will fail, but with a series of questions on how it could be improved or scaled. This supportive skepticism is vital. It allows for the rigorous testing of ideas without the dampening effect of cynicism. When you are surrounded by people who have already achieved what you are aiming for, your ceiling of possibility is raised. What once seemed like an insurmountable obstacle, such as raising $10 million or launching a global brand, becomes a standard, manageable task because you see others doing it every day. Your environment normalizes high-level achievement. Lastly, changing your environment often requires the courage to leave behind comfortable but stagnant social circles. This is perhaps the most difficult part of the wealth-building journey, as it can feel like a betrayal of one's past. However, the wealthy recognize that you cannot reach a new destination while staying in the same place. They seek out mentors, join masterminds, and move to cities or hubs where the density of opportunity thinkers is highest. They understand that luck is often just a byproduct of being in the right room with the right people talking about the right problems. By intentionally shaping their environment, they ensure that their mental filters remain sharp, their vision remains long-term, and their sense of responsibility remains absolute. The truth is, opportunity thinking isn't reserved for the rich. It's what makes people rich. The moment you stop asking what's in my way and start asking what's possible here, your life begins to shift. Train your mind to see opportunity where others see obstacles, and you won't just change your income, you'll change your identity. If this message resonated with you, stay curious, stay bold, and remember, every obstacle is hiding an opportunity waiting for the right mindset to uncover it.